I need to keep things real, my friends, but I really did not want to see a second leg against Aston Villa. For myself, yeah, I'll be honest, I find games against Aston Villa a little bit boring these days, and it simply comes down to this. It comes down to the fact that both teams know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they know how to cancel each other out. You know, Unai Emery is one of the best managers in Europe right now. Pochettino is very strong tactically. It creates these games where the finer margins and details become so key. And I feel like in games where finer margins are important, I think we aren't at that level right now to take advantage and to turn these types of results into wins. Yes, we had some moments that we could have done better with. You're looking at Madueke, you're looking at Cole Palmer, but even then, are they necessarily like clear-cut opportunities? No, they're more like half chances in my opinion. And of course Aston Villa had a few moments themselves, but you know, we dealt with their counter-attacks when we could. But I don't know, man, I feel like when we see these types of games, it's kind of like we want to pass the ball into the net. And this is what I mean about not really being ready yet to fully control and take advantage of these like super tight close encounters, because in games like this, most of the times it has to come down to the individuals on the fields, the actual players themselves, to create something from nothing, to better their opponent in a moment in the game, you know, to produce something unexpected. And I think this is what we just don't have in our team right now. Maybe it's because of the amount of young players we have and they don't want to make mistakes, they don't want to be bad, they follow instructions down to an absolute T. But in terms of creating, you know, a bit of mayhem, some imagination, a bit of a different threat or tempo in the game, we don't necessarily have that. And I guess it's no surprise that after our very strong first half, in which we really controlled the game against Aston Villa, we really nullified their counter-attacks, and we showed nice bits of like patient build-up, moving them from left to right and, you know, creating some dangerous opportunities in game. It seemed like things were eventually set to fizzle out in the second half, and I think in the second half we lacked way less threat than the first half, and I think it's because of how we play. And listen, I would love if a player took responsibility to like take a shot from 25 yards outside the box. You know, I look at guys like Caicedo, for example. There was a few times he was winning his counter press. There's a few times he was in good areas where you're thinking to yourself, you're a good player, why not take a touch into space and take an opportunity outside the box, you know, try and force something. I feel like with the caliber of player we have, they can at times look to force the agenda themselves, create something for the team. And maybe as time goes on, as these guys get more confident, as they feel a lot more settled in the club, country or whatever, maybe we might see that in their games. But I think right now, based on the current development of this team, these are the types of games where, you know, I think we as a fan base were always a little bit nervous, right? And I feel like we don't feel as hopeful that we are good enough to turn these like tactically dominant performance into wins. And, you know, testament to Aston Villa, Unai Emery and the team they are right now for making these games so hard against us, because our record against Aston Villa has not been great now for like the past 2.5 years. So they're a strong team. They're an opponent that we must show great respect towards, and the fact that we can do lots of good things in terms of the control, nullifying counter-attacks, all that good stuff shows that, listen, there's something in our team where, you know, we can hit new levels, we can get better. Who knows how we improve upon that? Maybe it comes down to signing players in the market. You know, if I could sign one player, and, you know, I know it's not going to happen, but if I could sign anyone in world football, it would be Musiala, because I kind of feel like that type of maverick where he creates something from nothing. I think he's the closest to Eden Hazard right now, in my opinion. I feel like if there was a guy like this in the team, I think suddenly lots of things make a lot more sense for other guys on the field, right? But because we don't have that type of option, it creates these types of games where we can look a bit stale as the game goes on. But outside of how the game went down, I think there are definitely some positives that we can discuss. And I think one of the first positives I want to get through is Alfie Gilchrist, because obviously Levi Colwill had a bit of a misfortune during the warm-up session and he wasn't able to take part in the game. So Alfie Gilchrist was called upon very late, and the fact that he was instantly ready to play in this game, he was mentally sharp, he was, listen, without any preparation, he was on point. And the fact that you would never have guessed that Alfie Gilchrist was called upon late so much, it's a testament to the players that we produce in our academy. And I keep saying this as a fan base, we should feel very proud behind the types of talents that we produce, because Gilchrist didn't necessarily set the world on fire. But one thing he definitely showed us that this guy is a competitor. He isn't going to let you down. He's diligent. He follows the instructions. Yes, it was kept simple at times, but he was very resolute throughout this game. And I think, he has this like deceptive, pace in his game. And, I like how he performed and how he carries himself. I think that's the thing that a lot of us have really taken towards. And it's a reminder that, listen, don't close down these pathways of the academy, because, they are the ones that normally save our bacon all the time, whether it's on the fields or off the field when we sell them to sign other guys. So Gilchrist was a big positive, but I think another big positive today, I have to say, that's George Petrovic. I said earlier that maybe, I'm seeing these like Petr Cech, like I get this Petr Cech vibe from Petrovic. Maybe it's because at the time when we signed both, they were kind of like unknown talents that had, good reputations within coaching circles, but weren't necessarily known in like the whole footballing spectrum. But there's just something about Petrovic. There's like this cool, like assured nature in his game. The fact that he's come from the MLS to play in the Premier League and just has quickly adapted and acclimatized to the intensity, the pressure, just like that overnight. I don't think that's something you fluke. I don't think he's on just like a fluky good run of form. I think this is a guy that is the real deal, in my opinion. And some of the saves he made today, it's just testament to this guy's, mental concentration in game. Especially that save right near the end, where this guy used all of his 6'4" frame to get low on the ground to make that save. And it's an incredible technique. And it's the type of saves that someone like a Kepa just was not able to actually save, because he didn't have it in his game. Near post, far post, strong from aerial claims. I think this guy is a quality goalkeeper, and the fact that both him and I have to say Robert Sanchez have been two of our better players this season is testament to the quality we have in goal right now. And I like that we have two top goalkeepers, and I think George Petrovic, man, this guy, if he continues, I think there's going to be a lot more people talking about him, because he's showing a lot of great stuff in this game. And I think finally, for another player that some people might not agree with my take, but I think a guy that deserves some credit in the game today would probably be Conor Gallagher. And the reason why I'm giving him credit is purely based on tactics. He had a key tactical role, because obviously if Cole Palmer is playing more of a false nine role, it means that the midfield player that supports him when it comes to pressing or just linking up with him, he needs to be someone that's going to be effective off the ball. And I think Conor Gallagher, listen, his creativity isn't going to come from slotting a pass in behind time and time again. Even though he showed that against Borough, playing the pass into Middlesbrough, I think his creativity comes in the form of, winning tackles and releasing them early to his teammates, and his creative movement off the ball. He made a lot of nice inverted runs that was taking out Aston Villa players and creating space for his teammates, and also making those inverted runs, those diagonal third-man runs inside the box. He had like really nice threat with his presence there, and he was constantly linking up alongside Madueke, Cole Palmer. And, the reason why I'm giving credit to Gallagher is that, if you want Cole Palmer to have a bit more creative freedom in terms of the positions he's going to find, instead of this guy just being like some isolated striker up front, you need to have that foe alongside him. And I think Conor Gallagher was that today. And I think that, in terms of his intensity, how he carried himself, the dangerous cutback crosses, he did look good. And, I think these were three players that, I was really impressed by. But it doesn't mean that I wasn't impressed by others. I thought Noni Madueke too can definitely improve a lot more. And I'm liking that Poch is starting to use him more, because I feel like he is bringing something a bit more consistent compared to Mudryk. When he's being his man, there's like a bit of a familiarity in the sense of, I actually feel like Madueke is going to get past his man and do something. With Mudryk at times, it feels like you're flipping the coin 24/7. Is he going to get past his man? Is he going to miscontrol it? Is he going to make the wrong decision? But I think with Noni, there's a more of like a assured nature behind his game. And I hope he continues his place next week and plays against Liverpool, because I think him on the right hand side could be like a great threat in behind. And that allows Raheem Sterling to continue to play on the left hand side. And I think maybe for now it's Madueke and Sterling out wide compared to Mudryk at the moment. But still though, I feel like in a game like this, did we maybe put too much focus on nullifying Aston Villa's counter-attack? I think you'd be silly not to focus on that, right? Because that's one of Aston Villa's, best parts of their game this season. But I feel like because we focus so much on nullifying most of their threats, it did mean that maybe offensively we were starting to run out of steam and run out of ideas, because a lot of times you're attacking with like 3 players against 4 time and time again. And I think after that first half where we had lots of good threat but weren't able to really capitalize on anything, I didn't have as much faith or confidence about our chances in the second half. Yes, Poch brought on Ben and Mudryk, but even then there wasn't like a consistent presence in terms of these guys like combining together on the left hand side. There wasn't like a consistent attacking presence or anything like that. I felt like the game became a bit more scrappier, and actually by making those subs, it allowed Aston Villa's fullbacks to push higher a lot more, and they were able to put in more crosses inside the box, maybe commit a few more men forwards. Listen, like, you have to take risks in the game. Like, you're not going to play 100% like perfect risk-free game and still get wins. But it's more the fact that once we kind of changed our nature and kind of went for it a bit more, it was a bit disappointing that we looked even blunter up front, even though Broja was on, Mudryk was on, Ben was on, Chukwuemeka was on, etc, etc. And it's a reminder that we are still a work in progress, because unless we know how to improve in these types of tight games, I don't see us moving on to the levels that we're aspiring to reach. So my friends, they're my thoughts and opinions. That's the match for you out the way. I'm the EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later with some more videos. Cool.